is not how the game will be won in the long run. It's not how the game will be played at the highest level. And BlossoM, currently a top 4 team in Korea, is not going to just simply allow those picks to get value.
Well, I think one step is going to be limiting the effectiveness of the heroes that they give over to BlossoM, right? So maybe, I'm not saying necessarily a Deckard ban, but come up with a way to stop BlossoM from getting heroes that they are able to use, so effectively. I mean, maybe that means taking them away, but do their hero pools allow for that? I don't know.
It's like the Ana ban we saw earlier. Even when they tried to find kind of a hole, find a gap in BlossoM, BlossoM was ready. It's, again, historically speaking, it has been Wiz who does the drafting, does the shot calling, but I've been told that in more recent times it's been Gondar who's taken over things, and he just knows how Feliz thinks. He's done his research. It's not his first time playing against Feliz. They'll take the Maiev here with the Hanzo ban. The Hanzo ban, it's pretty strong. It's not as common on this map because there's only one boss at the top. We very rarely see boss takes on this map in general. So, Feliz ends up taking this away, leaving the Maiev open so they can grab it themselves. But Deckard Cain, he has been the story here. As the use, looking at his massive support pool on his piece of paper, it looks like he's looking at right now. He's like, well, I can play a lot of heroes, but Deckard is the best. So no shock in this draft so far. What pairs with the Maiev? Are we going to see the Junkrat? Something like that? Is that what we're going to see here with Diablo? Quick rotations around the early game? The answer so far is no. We'll see the Blaze pick come in for the first time here for Feliz.
I mean, Blaze, always safe pick. It's kind of like what Urel was for a long time. But of course, maybe a little bit more versatile. The bunker will definitely help, especially if maybe Raynor gets caught out and needs a little bit of extra saving. But in the end, the bunker is just a giant, pool of heroes that when it expires or blows up, I mean, a new Barrac's just like, well, I wonder where I should burrow shirt. Probably right there.
That is absolutely true, especially if you have something that can burst down the bunker. Phoenix ban is very intelligent here. The Diablo ban as well, for the reasons I mentioned earlier. I think OJ, unfortunately, in this case, will just default to Muradin. But what I would like to see instead of something bolder is the ETC. Go play into what your comp is very strong at, which is early game pressure, early game picks, especially with Hammer on the other side. Junkrat makes it a little bit tougher, but I would like to see an ETC pick here. Move out of your comfort zone, do something that works well on a small map with the Blaze pick where you can just rotate and do so much damage with all the stuns you have. You have Raynor, who's going to get Ace in the Hole at level 1. If you take Muradin here, you have a survivable tank, but you gain nothing else. Muradin's the most generic fill tank when you have nothing else, and they just lock it in here. We have seen some success with their Karzi and Muradin together, but, I would have liked to see something that really gets into this comp, Yeah,
you're right. But I feel like that's kind of a luxury. And for teams like Feliz, playing the comfort picks is not the worst thing that you can do. But it's also not the most effective, specifically in this situation. So,
well, I mean, not even a better team would have likely picked the ETC here, but I feel like you've got to, at some point, you've got to step into...
You got to go for it, right?
Yeah.
Well, for BlossoM, they wind up with what is still a very strong, comp. You look at that and you just... Nothing really surprises you. The Hammer getting through after being banned, I feel like so consistently today, is going to be, I guess, a big thing to watch for BlossoM. But for Feliz, just any signs of life, because this is their last life.
I mean, this is Sergeant Hammer's most iconic map, and it was actually Dudu, who was the player who played it more than anyone else when he was on BlossoM, actually, and would end up playing. We even saw a lot of Hammer and Morales on this map from their squad that had a lot of success. Some of the best maps Dudu's ever played in his career were with the Hammer. Now he has to play against it.
And with a much different team.
Yeah. So. I mean, Hanaten, his comfort pick is the Dahaka, right? And he cannot play it on this map. It doesn't make any sense. So he ends up with the Blaze, which he picked early in the draft. Urel against him. With Hammer and Junkrat, there's a lot of... I mean, the bunker is just going to disappear like a magic trick. As this is BlossoM's best map, 11-3.
Yeah, and also conversely, Feliz's worst map at 0-5.
Yes. There's a lot of cards stacked in the deck against Feliz here, and...
I thought you were doing that just to make a Deckard Cain reference. And I'm like, yes, that also contributes to the reasons they're not winning.
Okay, not everything I say is a pun. I'm not
but it
like
could have
you.
been. I see the potential.
But you know what? I regret it now that I didn't think of it, or I feel bad I didn't think of it. Rather, I can't regret not thinking of something.
Well, I mean, you can. It's just not probably very productive.
Yeah.
Just like my double use of very in that sentence. So let's go back into the game itself. I'm trying to find every bit of potential to squeeze out of this game, as I'm sure Feliz are not really going to have any opportunity to pick on Kono there. You know, he was safe the whole time.
He was, and meanwhile, should never happen in an ideal world, Sergeant Hammer is shoving a lane. And you know what? She might siege up.
Imagine, like, perhaps giving a hero the ability to outrange turrets. Let's think about this one for a second. So, yeah, ideally you just want to shove that out and start sieging, but thankfully the rotation does stop that from being, you know, totally possible.
Can you imagine if siege tanks in actual StarCraft or StarCraft 2 could actually
move?
While sieged, or fire as fast as Sergeant Hammer does?
Well, especially when you get the 20 talent, it's just like, I mean, nothing about this is fair at all.
Sergeant Hammer, if given room to do so, can be one of the most oppressive heroes in the game.
Especially with the inevitable level advantage that you would have if you're constantly shoving waves like that.
Yeah. It's not easy to play Hammer at highest level. There's a lot of things that... The first thing you have to learn as a Sergeant Hammer player is, in fact, like humility. You have to know that, like,
right.
you will die if you try to be greedy. You have to be
intelligent.
Yeah, you have to be humble. You have to know, like, hey, like, I would love to do this. We picked Hammer, so I should, like, have the massive siege damage in this game, and, like, no one should be able to stop me. But you have to know that there are limits, and you will die a lot as you learn the hero.
It'll use the Legolas strat, where you wait for the opportune moment. That's actually more of an Orlando Bloom strat, because I got my movies that he acted in mixed up, but
you mean when he's like that pirate in that pirate movie?
Yeah, what I don't even remember.
It's like Pirates of the Atlantic or something like that? Or is it of the Pacific? I can't remember.
Pirates of the Indian Ocean. One of the oceans.
Yeah.
Something like that.
It could have been Arctic. It's that movie that's got...
it's Sinbad, right? He was a pirate.
Yeah, it could have been. There was that actor who played the famous pirate. Jack Sparrow was played by... God, who was it? It was Mark Hamill, yeah.
Yeah.
One, yeah.
Also, he had that one quote about having the high ground or being someone's father. I don't know.
Yeah.
He was on one side of that. I'm so confused right now. You ever see those like memes that are like a picture and a quote from like different people?
Never seen that before,
and then they attribute it to somebody else? I'm really enjoying this right now.
All right, well, let's see how this turn-in attempt goes for Feliz. They get pushed away a lot of this by the Deckard Cain pick.
Yep.
You're always under, like, Deckard Cain, he heals and he peels, man.
That's right.
He heals and he peels. He's like, you coming in here? What about my scroll? Look at this cube. Uh-oh.
Yeah, he protect and he attacks, stuff like that. And all of that really enables Modern. Look at that. How much is he unsieging right now? Okay, well, at that moment he did, so thank you for the caster curse. But realistically, not that much. He is able to just sit down in the back and lock down such a huge area. And right now we're just seeing kind of the hinterland of this fight as BlossoM really just locked down control of this.
Yeah. Should be their turn-in to get the first wobbier of the game very shortly here. Liu needs to be interrupted, but I mean, that wasn't going to be the turn-in that broke the camel's back, or I don't know.
Camel heroes, where are those in my game?
Yeah, I don't know. We got to get Rock and Roll Racer first.
Gonna have high priorities. It's like Deathwing. Nah, I gotta.
Every time I see the Battle.net heroes, like thing where you choose and it only shows Vikings, I get really sad. The classic heroes. Yeah. Uh-oh.
Okay, well, that's not where Meriday wants to be.
But Concussive Mine's pretty good. Helps stave everyone away for a moment. They do get the Web Weaver turn in, so Feliz capitalizes on this one moment very well. But the reality is that if they had capitalized on it earlier, perhaps it would have been more relevant in this game. Meriday will be back in 6 seconds.
Yeah.
And by that point, the Web Weavers are going to be doing damage. Modern Life needs to be careful, though, with no Deckard here.
They do definitely need to respect, you know, the hero advantage, right? I mean, Meriday's still not back with the team. Gondar doesn't really respect that, but actually, Anatan in a not totally safe position.
Yeah, there was some anti-synergy between the Concussive Mine and the Burrow Charge there, but
there could have been a setup that would have been much more potent, but in the end, it's all about just trying to mitigate the effectiveness of these Web Weavers.
Which do secure all 3 walls to BlossoM, but no real permanent damage outside of the top keep fort top fort going fairly low.
Now still the lockdown coming through. OJ way deep in enemy territory. There's the Concussive Mine, and that is going to be one dead dwarf.
Well, he somehow remains alive. He had to get that Stormbolt off, man. Followed up by the charge here.
I don't know why you would have said that OJ would have died there. I mean, I knew he was safe the whole time, Wolf.
Well, you know.
I hate it when heroes live when they shouldn't.
Well, I mean, it's he's virtually dead. He did get the nice Stormbolt off right afterwards, but
to be fair, I mean, that is his most played hero. He's very good at that, knowing exactly his limits, so we can definitely attribute that to him, knowing exactly how to stress test the hero and make it out alive.
Well, BlossoM is about to have 10, and it's a scary moment for Feliz because it's going to be the 10 that gets potentially the double turn-ins. They want to force this turn-in in right before that happens. As, by the way, Sergeant Hammer is split pushing, which only happens at like low-level solo queue.
Exactly. There's realistically no reason that should be allowed.
Yeah.
So it's there, it's happening, and simultaneously, BlossoM are also winning this fight.
Yeah, BlossoM is just trying to speedrun this series at this point. I mean, I cannot believe I am watching Sergeant Hammer solo a fort in a pro game. I mean, like, I'm not kidding.
There's
this is actually happening!
There are some things that just should not happen. That's one of them.
I mean, obviously, the turn-in is super important for Feliz because they want to get up before 10, etc. And had they tried to kill Hammer, Hammer probably would have gotten away, and then it's like, then BlossoM got their turn in, and they have 10, so it's kind of a catch-22, but...
I mean, realistically, they still lose everything.
Yes. In this case, they don't deny the turn in, they don't get that fight before 10, and the bottom Web Weaver is just going to spit on the bottom fort, and it is going to fall down, and it's going to start threatening the bottom keep.
Yeah, pretty sure that a light breeze would blow down that bottom fort. Or the Sergeant Hammer, which, by the way, Wolf, is still split pushing in the bottom lane.
Yeah, I mean, the Web Weaver does put out like a small purple breeze, so I think it might literally happen.
I mean, honestly, at this point, Sergeant Hammer might be the one to kill it first. But no, going to join the team, what are you doing? Just go split push more.
This bunker is not going to be doing anybody any favors.
It's an extra structure for Modern to siege down.
Siege tanks for the counter to bunkers,
What was
man.
that? Okay, I'm not sure where Blaze was going, but he is going back home the hard way. And it's the first casualty as these Web Weavers and, of course, the heroes push through the outer wave of forts, pushing through the bottom one, middle one just now falling down. Top just also will take one more hit. And this is just BlossoM steamrolling, speedrunning, like you said, Wolf.
I mean, this is almost all she wrote at this point. Feliz has heroics, but they've been double Web Weaver turn-in. I don't know how I made that into a verb, but if that happens to you, you have such little chance of coming back in the game. Yeah. OJ is continuing to chase this, which I find to be very risky given the circumstances.
Is what we call it.
I think that was probably the best word to use.
Brave. That's another one.
Meanwhile, Modern Life is like, yeah, well, I mean, I might actually break the record for single game siege damage. So
yeah.
Could you guys slow it down a little bit on winning this game? Because I'm trying to break a record here.
You know, when you finish a game and it says, hey, you did this one thing better than this percentage of other... he really wants that siege damage achievement.
Okay, the trap misses, so that's unfortunate.
Yeah, Gondar I don't know. His airs need to be a little bit more ripper.
Okay, Aimer's like, listen, I know that's where you're going to try to go.
Read him like a book.
Yeah, like, whoa, dude, you think you're cool trying to go into the back hallway there?
I mean, granted, it was like one of those like big font, you know, kindergarten books, but he still read him exactly like that. Able to take him out, it's like, okay, well, you get the golf clap for that one. But realistically, yeah, it is only a fleeting victory.
Okay, well, they're going to use the disc here just to try to secure this. And you know what? I don't know. Okay.
Oh, I guess they get it. Okay.
Meride does the focus of that fire. Well, I mean, they get their first Web Weaver. Modern Life is now defensively racking up his siege damage instead of offensively for the first time this game.
Okay.
Sergeant Hammer is one of those heroes that's not only amazing at pushing with Web Weavers or split pushing if given room, which should never happen, but also is incredibly good at defending Web Weavers because auto attack damage very high.
Oh, Gondar.
Gondar is once again at the wrong place at the right time for Feliz. The second concussive mine, though, will keep him alive. But all that time spent means that the Web Weavers are doing a lot of damage. In fact, this is going to help propel Feliz back into this game.
Here comes Hyperion and Web Weaver combined. I mean, that's a good recipe for success pushing through. Maybe they even get this port, but can they commit to it? Here comes Honkono back around from behind, but maybe a little bit too lonely. Will burrow right on out of there, not before landing a cocoon onto Hanatan.
Oh my god, the
oh my god, are you kidding me?
After the sleep, coming in.
Why are there 4 other heroes when all you need is Sergeant Hammer? He's going to be General Hammer after this game, Wolf.
Well, that was insane burst damage. The tire, the BFG, after the sleep, setting it up. And meanwhile, that was pretty long range hammer too.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Modern Life is like, yeah, well, there's more things for me to kill.
Yeah,
and increase my siege damage.
Back to the grind again. Modern.
He's like, you know why they call it siege damage?
Not just the tank. No, you have to specifically specify exactly what that tank's purpose is. The siege tank's like, well, yes, but what other kind of tank would it be? It'd be a tank that doesn't siege, which is just strictly worse in all ways.
Yeah. I don't know why we don't have siege tanks in real life yet. But one day.
They don't have the technology. This is, of course, far in the future.
Still in the wild, the Terrans talk like rednecks, but, you know.
Oh, you know, hallmarks of the past. History bound to repeat itself. Maybe it's just repeating itself with the wrong pool. Anyway, here comes BlossoM pushing forward, still in siege mode, by the way. This is kind of remarkable that they are able to kind of commit this heavily just around Sergeant Hammer. But now no longer split pushing, so, you know, maybe that's an improvement.
Well, they're actually, if Feliz thinks they're just going to race and win the turn-in now, like, I have bad news. The turn-in has already started for BlossoM. I think Feliz is a team that, again, is full of rookies, but sometimes in tense moments make the less optimal choice, shall we say.
That is true. The choice that is not the best one.
And it was in tense moments like that where you have to make a hard call if you're going to fight or engage, but they were just a little bit indecisive, which now leads to the third turn in here for BlossoM with Sergeant Hammer. This may be the push that wins them the game. I mean, it is a real possibility at this stage.
I mean, especially once Junkrat rejoins after shoving that bottom lane. This is realistically just going to be such a hard push to stop. I mean, sure, Web Weaver goes down, but it's still in the top lane, still in the bottom lane, and the longer BlossoM stay here occupying Feliz's time, the stronger those side lane pushes get.
Yep. Honkono just standing in such a way that prevents the real dive onto Modern Life. Look at Aimer. He's like, well, I really don't want to try to go in there. Honkono's going to get on me, and then it's going to be a bad situation.
I love how Modern Life is giving the respect by kind of microing, even though he could just actually stand perfectly still in siege mode, hitting that keep, and probably still have just as much effectiveness.
Yeah, well, you got to maximize the value, man, of that auto attack. Okay, 7-sided here on the Honkono, but he just simply burrow charges away. I don't think that they can actually, well, I want to say I don't think they can get this keep just by sieging it, but if Feliz doesn't actually commit hard to a fight, guess what? They will.
I think BlossoM are far enough ahead to where they can kind of force Feliz's hand, saying, we are going to take this egregious advantage unless you try to get in here and stop us.
It's crazy what Urel can do armor-wise as well in these situations. Everyone's just caught a bottle. Boom! Everybody's got 35 armor. Better bunker.
And, oh, Hanatan trying to stay in there, but boom goes the dynamite. Stay a while, but not for too long. And there it goes, the combo again. Gondar almost going down there to Dudu. Right-clicks him, but realistically, this is going to be the keep.
BlossoM basically just bullied them out of this game,
They did.
They were like, you're just going to sit here and fall asleep and then get killed, and we're just going to... Like, well, you can't just Sergeant Hammer siege up and push your way to a win here? And BlossoM's like, oh, yeah?
Yeah, I mean, they had to like sit there and watch, essentially, as BlossoM
Why don't you guys just
apart.
watch me take this series from you? Like BlossoM stole this series from Feliz, like stole like lunch money from someone in elementary school.
Well,
it's like not even fair, man.
Feliz have been watching him steal their bottom lane objectives, almost every single one of them. They have actually watched that, and they have not gone down to contest it, and this is where it gets you. A base with only one keep left.
Yeah, I mean, it's
You know, rarely do you see Sergeant Hammer comps be quite this iconic, right? I mean, you see a siege tank and you're like, oh, I just really wish I could siege some objectives. But realistically, that's not the actuality. That's not what actually happens. But this time, it's
yeah. I mean,
business as usual.
To elaborate on that point, I mean, Rich is probably the most successful Sergeant Hammer player in the world right now. I'll hold that thought. Looks like Feliz might try to get the jump on BlossoM here, but they don't have everyone ready for the follow-ups. Doesn't matter.
Don't have enough damage.
But the way Hammer is normally played is when you have an objective, yes, you can get some siege damage done, and that's where she's great, and she has great burst damage. But it's more about, like, they're trying to kill the Hammer, and you protect it, and then the Hammer gets a lot of damage peeling backwards as everyone's taking damage.
Right,
it feels bad.
It's the threat of inevitability, and you can leverage that to force your opponent in. Now,
yes.
Let's find out how this fight goes. Can Feliz turn it around? Disc locking down Deckard, and that's allowing OJ and Hanatan to get back in. Not going to be a very compelling story there, Meriday. Doesn't really cause anybody to stay for very long. And actually, that's going to be a big kill coming through on Raynor. Yeah, take it out. There's Maev out of there, and one after another. The dominoes keep on falling. Only Karazim left alive.
The dancing Leo. First time at the end of the game, he was soloing a boss. This time he'll be dancing. But he is dead.
He is out of there. A full wipe here for BlossoM, which did look inevitable after that last fight. And they will take a decisive 3-game win here over Feliz. Sergeant Hammer doing what she does best. That is sieging objectives down. They should all back off and just make sure Modern gets the last hit on this one for the siege damage stats. But there it is.
There you go. We'll take a look at those stats in just a moment, but just another day of work. Show up, take the easy win. Feliz not looking as full of life as they did in their last series last week, where they were able to, I think, really show some strong drafting. Today they went back to comfort picks. It did not work at the end of the day. Meriday gets 3 for 3. Deckard Cain every time, and he shows up, takes the win. Going to get the 3-0. And for Feliz, you know, it's just another reminder that the Crucible is looming. It's a few weeks away from that. Here's Sergeant Hammer's siege damage, 147. Does not actually have the same as Gondar, ironically. But between the two of them, 300K.
He tried so hard, and in the end, it just didn't matter. Oh well.
He does double Hanatan's hero damage.
Okay, the moral victory there. He'll have to go for one of those other post-game stats about how he did better than other players who played this hero.
Well, I mean, you know, it's just one of those games that gets away from you, and you get the double web weaver, you get 10. It's like, how can you recover in a situation like that?
Yeah. BlossoM, we're here to win games of Heroes of the Storm and chew bubblegum. They're all out of bubblegum at the end. Or maybe Feliz was their bubblegum, and they chewed them up and spit them out. I'm not sure which analogy I'm supposed to go for here. But a solid, decisive win here for BlossoM. You expect it coming in, and it's good to see them be able to deliver.
They certainly do. As Meriday's win rate on Deckard Cain skyrockets further. He's 16-4 currently, so 80% after today. Very, very consistent results on this hero that if you give it to him, he will just succeed.
They kept doing that. They would pick, what was that game One, they prioritized Dahaka over
Yes.
Deckard Cain and Hanzo, and you look at that and you think they must have a plan to this, but no, they
I
were
gotta
just
get my pencil, sir.
they were just going for comfort picks. You could have borrowed mine, but it's okay. We all
Then I would have been
understand.
like going like this, like this, like this.
Well, I could have like tag teamed it. Just
Game
like,
one, so game one, Dahaka. Game two, Alex Strasser, reasonable on Infernal Shrines
Right.
after the bait of the Maiev.
Mhm.
Game three went for Maiev themselves. We have a 3-0 result at the end of the day. So I feel like there's a I was feeling like there was a light at the end of the tunnel for Feliz because they've been working really hard to improve, and I could feel that in their play. But tonight it's just they hit a wall super hard, and you could feel it in Liu's like dances at the end of the game as soloing the boss. It just feels so hopeless for this team right now. And will we see them in 2019? Nobody knows, but there are a lot of open division teams watching this game going, all right, let's take notes on these comfort picks. Let's take notes on
it
what
happens
they're doing.
every season, Wolf. The bottom two teams in HGC Korea really do struggle. They are sort of the the red meat in the water. The piranha is just like circling, waiting for that crucible to happen. And you see so many relegations that it just becomes, kind of a weird trend to just see teams advance on, struggle, and then the cycle of life and death continues.
Indeed. Well, we're going to take a look at some highlights in a little bit, and then we're going to break down our winners interview here for Team BlossoM. But yeah, it's one of those matches that, feels like HGC Korea, right? And we see a lot of these, but Feliz, I think that if they can play like they did last week, there's always the hope that, they have a fairly decent Crucible match and remain in HGC in 2019.
That's true.
Never feels good when you're the team that's like going, well, at least we might maybe be in the tournament next year. Because, that's a 6-month season where you're really banking everything on this one Crucible best of 7. Very important match they will have coming up. But take a look at these 3 maps really quick and break them down a little bit further. It's pretty self-explanatory, some of these fights. Really nice arrows here, the gusts as well, from Gondar all game long to set up these fights. They had all the heroes they would ever want to control boss, and that is certainly what they did. They had 3 bosses total that game. Actually, I think even 4 at the very end of it.
And this was the game that actually looked the best for Feliz.
Yeah.
Up until, I think, almost this moment, so it's a good highlight to kind of bring up. Feliz had been controlling the shrine just so well, and then finally they give up one fight, and it all goes south from here.
Yeah, Hanaten survives for a little bit longer in this fight, but it doesn't eventually get away. He's killed instead. And this was just one moment of coordination kind of falling apart for Feliz, and then that's all it takes. Tomb of the Spider Queen, just free damage, free pushing for Modern Life. And they had this one Web Weaver, and instead of it getting them back into the game, they actually lose this fight here where Riptire comes in with BFG at the same time.
Oh my God.
And everybody's suddenly dead.
Disgusting. Absolutely insane combo there, and that's probably the one moment in that game where we didn't have Sergeant Hammer's.
오늘 무난한
Let's head
승리의
over to our winners
블라썸의 위즈
interview.
선수와
Take it away,
인터뷰
Wolf.
시작하도록 하겠습니다.
We're going to
승리
talk to
축하드립니다.
Wiz.
네, 감사합니다.
Congratulations.
일단 저 두 번째 세트에
네.
바로 경기 얘기해서 좀 죄송해요.
네.
근데 이제 마이에브가 사실
in
곰다루
game
선수의
two,
어떤 그런 메인 픽인데 풀릴 거
ended up being the
다들
first
팀원들 예상
pick. How
가능하셨어요?
did you guys expect it to be open?
마이브는 풀릴 거라고 예상 못했는데 상대가
No,
풀어줘가지고 형씨가 나이스 이러면서 바로 뽑더라고요.
It really
아유
feels like
그리고
they give us
이제
a nice
거의
bump.
1회를 하고
What was
대학가
that,
영웅만
open?
하시다가
네.
오늘 이제
So
처음 이번
usually you guys
파트에서
play only Dahaka
나이트의 영웅
and
하셨습니다.
Urel, but you guys played Malthael. So what's
사전에 좀
going on with
스크린
that?
성적이 괜찮아서 나왔던 픽이었나요?
How did it
우선
work out for you
스크림
guys?
성적에도 좋았고 제가 워낙
was really good
근디를
in
좋아하기
scrims.
때문에 좀 많이 어필을 해요. 스크림 할 때나
어.
대회를 할 때나.
So I really like playing him, so I've actually
형씨가
been like
믿고 뽑아준 것
asking
같아요.
a lot.
어.
Can I play Malthael?
평소에
when we're
곰다루
scrimming, and
선수에게
now
좀
playing in a real
어필하셨었나요?
match.
말티에를 좀 잘할 수 있다 이렇게?
아니 그것보다는 그냥 서브 탱커가 재미없다고.
So
좀
basically, she
달라고
said, so were
많이
you saying like, no, I'm really good at
그래서
Malthael, please let
오늘은
me
좀
play it? And he was like,
말티에를
actually, no, I'm
재밌으셨어요?
just really bored of playing tanks in the top lane.
오늘 재밌었어요.
그리고 재밌는 경기를 승리까지 가져가셔서
Nice.
네.
I don't blame him.
날일 것 같은데요.
So, moving on to
일단 그
our next
말티엘이란
question.
영웅의 좀 키포인트 알려주실 수 있나요?
Any good
말티의
important
키포인트는,
things about Malthael that we should know? Key points.
가장 중요한 게 먼저 안 들어가는 거인 것 같아요.
It's important to
항상
know that you should never go in
네,
first as Malthael.
성진입을 안 하고 그 W 스킬로
네.
상대 스킬을 한 번 정도 피하면은 좋을 것 같아요.
So just try to make sure you hit everyone
피한
with
다음에 들어가서
do some
이제
damage first and then
할 수 있는
teleport
건가요?
in with your W after that. Make sure you
가장 꿀팁이
secure a lot
네.
of targets first.
아노바락 같은 거 잠복 돌진 쓸 때 W 쓰면은 씹어지거든. 그 피할 수 있거든.
네,
네,
피할
그런
수
식으로.
있다는
네.
말씀이시죠?
So you can do it, for example, when a new rock comes
감사합니다.
in at the same
감사하고요.
time.
그리고 이제
dive in at that
서탱
moment.
역할로 이때까지 1회 대학가 영웅으로 굉장히 기복 없이 꾸준히 잘해주신 것 같은데요.
네.
그런 이제 서브 탱커 역할을 꾸준히 해오시면서 좀 이런 히오스라는 게임에 탱커의 영향력이 어느 정도라고 생각하시나요?
So like talking about
평가
the
좀
importance of
부탁드립니다.
tanks,
그거는 사람마다 생각이 다 다른데
and it's
네.
different for every person.
딜러가 가장 중요하다, 뭐 탱커가 가장 중요하다 이렇게
Some
서로
people think like
생각이
it's
많이
important to be a
갈리는데
네.
DPS. Some people think
저는
it's important to be a tank.
그냥 팀 게임이라는 것 자체가 5명이 다 중요하고
So
전부
it's a
다
team
20%,
game
20%,
and
20% 이렇게
it's
중요한
it's a 5-man team game, and it's
그럼 그
important for the team
20%를 다
to
똑같이
work
수행을
together.
해야지만
So
이길 수 있는 건가요?
네, 약간 아무래도 그렇겠죠. 팀 게임이라는 게 협동 게임이니까.
well, it's just a team
그리고 이제
game. It's about
3세트에 또 어그로
working together.
핑퐁부터 이제 앞라인 잘 이제 견제해 주시면서 뒷라인도 잘 봐주시고 이제 계속 폼이 올라오고 있으신데요. 이번 불컨까지 좀 세트 득실
So
중요하지
basically,
않을 수 없잖아요, 블라썸.
네, 그렇죠.
네.
You guys want to go to
응원하시는
BlizzCon? That's obviously your goal.
팬분들께 이제 그 불컨을 앞두고 각오 한마디 부탁드릴게요.
So anything you want to say to your fans about going to BlizzCon in the future?
일단 뭐 미라클이 젠지랑 발리스틱스를 이기는 거 보고 좀
It's really tough for us looking at
긴장감이
Genji,
올라갔는데.
Miracle,
네.
Ballistics.
그래서
Yeah, forgot that
보는
one.
시청자분들도 더 재밌을 거라고 생각하고 저희도 준비를 잘해가지고 이제
Just hoping they've enjoyed
템페스트랑 젠지전이 남아있는데
your
해서 곧
their games
이어보도록
so
하겠습니다.
far.
네,
And I
정말
hope you
감사한
enjoyed
각오
watching
잘
them basically.
들었고요.
And
오늘 승리
we've got tough
정말
opponents going
축하드립니다.
forward. They're going to be focusing on
인터뷰 여기까지
Tempest
마치도록
and Genji. Their next two
하겠습니다.
opponents,
진계성
the final two
나와주세요.
opponents for regular season. So that's the gist of it all here, and that's the end of our interview with Wiz. Here are our standings after tonight, and Miracle still just a little bit behind BlossoM with BlossoM's 3-0 win, but how long can BlossoM stay on top? That's the big question. That might be the first matchup of playoffs after the first round. Like that, I guess that was a weird way of saying that. It's probably going to be our second round of playoffs, very likely, barring a huge change here in standings.
Yeah, now both BlossoM and Miracle play Supernova coming up next week, so their strength of schedule looks pretty similar. But, I mean, BlossoM versus Genji, of course, not going to be an easy
Yeah, it's certainly not. And
trip
then
for
Miracle
them.
will face Tempest, so they have their opportunity to get the triple. That's not going to be next week, but that's going to be later on in the final week. So that's something that they do have left. That's a tougher opponent. BlossoM has that tough opponent in Genji. So if Miracle's able to beat Tempest, which is crazy, then they're definitely going to pass BlossoM, you would think. BlossoM could upset Genji. That would be pretty crazy, but there's always the possibility. We always have to consider possibilities because things like what happened today, miracles, if you will, do happen.
They do indeed. Now, this is coming up next. We have a match that was actually highlighted in a sick preview news article. You should go to Blizz Heroes and read that. Ballistics versus Tempest is coming up tomorrow, so you do not want to miss that. It is one of only many great esports performances that will be happening tomorrow, so you've got your hands full with things to watch, and it really couldn't be better. Cannot wait to see who comes out on top there.
Yep, and the second series, of course, Supernova versus BlossoM, to see if BlossoM can just continue their consistency this week against some of the weaker teams in the league. Make sure they get those 3-0s because Miracle is hot on the trail, and it would be massive. I mean, obviously how the playoffs work is 6 faces 5th, winner faces 4th, winner faces 3rd. And that's the BlizzCon qualifier for Korea because there's 3 slots. So to pass, BlossoM would actually skip a round of BlizzCon qualifiers for Miracle. So that's a very, and vice versa, they would have to play an extra one in BlossoM's case if they pass.
It is really unthinkable for teams from Korea to be anything other than Ballistics, Tempest, and Genji. But for the first time in a long time, there may be a challenger. It's an exciting time to be an HGC Korea fan, and we hope to see you back here tomorrow for even more amazing games. Thank you so much. On behalf of Wolf and myself, we hope you enjoy the rest of HGC. See you back here tomorrow.